Welcome, everybody, to Saturday Movie Night. My name is Dave McRae. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right. For those of you that are joining after the live broadcast, actually, let me just make sure we are recording. We are all right here. Yes, I think we are. That's good. Okay, just want to make sure everything is good there. So for those of you that are joining me after the live broadcast, this is a Saturday movie night is what this is called. And this is a Patreon only for level number 2 and 3 on my Patreon in terms of the live broadcast. If you want to have an opportunity to vote on the movie that I watch, you have to be part of level number 3. But both level number 2 and 3 get to join in on the live broadcast and watch me give live commentary on a movie that you guys have voted on. So today, as you can see over here, I am about to watch A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. For many years, I thought it was The Dream Warriors. No. It is just Dream Warriors, and I've busted out my Freddy Krueger glove to watch this movie. And of course, I encourage you at home to watch along with me. So if you have it on VHS, if you have it on Blu-ray, if you have it on DVD, is it on 4K? I'm not sure, but maybe you have it on excuse me. Maybe you purchase it digitally. Who the hell knows? Watch along with me and we will watch it together. Now, this is not the glove from Elm Street 3. This is a replica glove from the first movie. But nonetheless, I have got my glove ready for A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. All right. So how this works is I am about to hit play on the movie. I got to use my left hand now that I put the glove on my right hand. Let's do this here, and let's see who is in the chat. Oh, David Ferguson is here. Hey, David, how you doing? David is here. Steve Down Under is here. How you doing, Steve? You're a new patron, and it's great for you. It's great of you, I should say, to be able to join us for this Saturday movie night. I'm taking off the glove for the moment so I can actually start the movie. Okay, so for those of you at home, for those of you that are in the chat room now, for those of you that are watching after the live feed is done, I am hitting play on A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 now, and I will tell you what is coming up on the screen. So on the screen, we have the New Line Cinema film, strips moving back, and now it says New Line Cinema, a Time Warner company. That is what is on the screen right now. And then, of course, the quote by Edgar Allan Poe, "Sleep, those little slices of death, how I loathe them." I love it. And now New Line Cinema, Smart Egg Pictures. That's what's on the screen. So here we go. All right, Dominic Venturino is here. Awesome. You could join us, Dominic Venturino. So this is A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. This is the movie. There it says, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. I have to be honest with you, I actually really like this opening credit sequence. I think it's the sound is, the music's really eerie and creepy, and of course you see like, what the fuck is going on here? What is this? Is she cooking? Is she baking? Larry Fishburne, not Lawrence, as he became later. I love the fly that's hanging on the dish there. That's so great. Looks like a real fly, too. That's impressive. Hopefully he got paid well. But yeah, so this is 2 years after A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, which I actually quite like. It's my second favorite in the series. But although Elm Street 2 was a box office success, it was a critical and fan flop. And for obvious reasons. I mean, certainly it's become more of a cult favorite now. It's still not considered, in the big picture, one of the best. But so they needed to sort of go back to the drawing board. And believe it or not, Frank Darabont, who went on to direct such classics as like The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, The Mist, co-wrote this the screenplay. And Wes Craven initially had a draft that was similar to what you saw, but very different at the same time. But his initial draft was very dark. This, I believe Chuck Russell helped write the script as well. I think he's the guy that also directed the movie. I think that's his name. He felt that they wanted to go a bit more whimsy, I guess we should say, with this, is what they wanted to do. So not quite as serious, but not totally humorous. Like I've often said, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, although I do much prefer dark Freddy from the first two films, that is Freddy to me. Excuse me. I will say that if you are going to add some, dark or black humor, this is probably the extent that I would go. It's a nice balance between the two. Once you start getting to 4, which of course is often known as the MTV Freddy, it's like the cat's completely out of the bag, and then of course 5 and 6 is just a fucking shit show. So this is sort of a nice balance between the two, I think. Even though there's some things in here I'm like, there are some things in here where I'm like, you know what I mean? It's that nice balance. Patricia Arquette. This is her first movie, folks. Her first movie. That's such a set. There's no way that's a real bedroom. It looks like a soundstage. It does. But I totally buy that it could be a real bedroom as well. It's just the angle, the way they came in on that for some reason. Let's see here. Steve Down Under says they tended to go lighter with the 80s sequels. Yeah. Well, I think also, too, that what ends up happening is a lot of these antagonists, and I hate to say it, although Freddy and Jason have much longer shelf lives than, say, a Michael Myers, a lot of, you can almost, even like a Freddy and a Jason, you almost, like, it's just the very nature of their characters. Sort of, you can only take them seriously for so long until it gets just ridiculous. So it almost feels like, well, we got to open it up a bit. And when you do open it up a bit, and the reason why you have to open it up is because if you don't, you're just making the same film over and over and over again. But when you start to open up, and then you make another one, and you open up a little bit more, and then you make another one, and then you open up a little bit more, and then you have new writers that come in with ideas, they just start to get so fantastical and so ridiculous, right? So it can be tricky, but I love this shot with Patricia Arquette in her bed and the wind is blowing her hair and she sits up and she realizes, oh, she's out front of 1428 Elm Street. Now that's a soundstage, obviously. That's not actually the, I don't think anyway. I don't think it looks like, it's the real house, but I believe this is a soundstage. I don't think they made the outside of the house to look like that. What do we got? David Ferguson says, Dave, I hope you don't pet your cat with the glove on. I don't know. My cat was here. I think she was in here. I think she left. Veda, come here. I want to pet you. Welcome to prime time, bitch. He really yells it. I will say, the set design on this movie is fantastic. With the critical failure of Elm Street 2, and there's a variety of reasons why it failed. You can't just point to one single thing. like I said, this does feel, it's a nice balance. One of my criticisms of the later sequels in the series is that the dream sequences become too ridiculous. It's like you're in a carnival ride. They're too sensational. You know, we don't usually dream like that, right? Our dreams, because they come from our subconscious, they're usually based in some sort of alternate reality. That doesn't mean that we don't dream of being chased or dream of being on some big ride or Ferris wheel or on a cliff or something, but it's usually very real world situations. And you know, that's what I loved about the first one, especially, is that, you know, you always knew when they were dreaming, but it was real world. Like, there weren't any lavish sets or crazy shit, right? 3, again, seems to be that nice hybrid. There are things that are sensational, no doubt about it. But in comparison to where they went in, especially like 5, you know, and 6, part 3 is really tame. And so for me, it's that borderline. I just wouldn't go so far past what we see here. Like, she's in the Elm Elm Street house, but she's still, it feels still sort of grounded in some ways. It doesn't feel too sensational, like she's in some weird, like, yeah, there with her feet in the oil or whatever. Like, we've all had a dream where we can't run and there's something crazy going on, right? And there's Freddy. And I love how he's going like this down the hall. He's like, he's going to wind up. He's winding up. He's winding up. I love it. Yeah, and now, like, clearly, even though she's in the Elm Street house, she's not, because the Elm Street house did not have all these hallways and corridors and stairs and shit like that, right? And dreams are like that, where you're in one place and all of a sudden you're in another place and you don't even know how you transitioned. Yeah, like that was as crazy as it sounds, like the dream sequence you saw there is as lavish as I would probably go. And I know for hardcore Elm Street fans of the later sequels, you know, that might not be very exciting to hear. But I love shit when it's almost like you don't even realize they're dreaming. Like, you know they're dreaming, but you don't know. Like right now, right? You thought she was you thought she was awake, but she's not. There's his laugh. I love that. Love how you see his face in the mirror, and like, it's really cool stuff. Like yeah, like that's in comparison to part 1, that's really sensational, but that's as sensational as I would go. So as you can see, the mother opening the door has now awakened her from her sleepwalk. She was sleepwalking. This is what I presume there. What do we got going on here? Oh, let me just move this over here. There we go. Oh, let me. I gotta see who's chatting. Who's chatting in the chat room? Oh, here comes a guy. There's Larry Fishburne. There he is, and a guy who I think looks like what's his face? Bill Maher. He does. He looks like a Bill Maher. Am I crazy, or does he look like Bill Maher? I think he looks like Bill Maher. Let's see here. David Ferguson says, I always thought William Dafoe would have made a good Freddy Krueger, but at 64, I'm not so sure now. Yeah, no, you're right. He probably would have. Maybe back in the day. Now, I don't know about that. Steve Down Under says, any age could play Freddy Krueger, but the fast action shots would have to be a younger bloke, I guess. Yeah, you know, I think like, if you were to reboot A Nightmare on Elm Street now, I would go with somebody around my age. Like, I'm 40, so I would go with somebody between 35 and 45, in that 10 years there. Robert Englund was about 37 when he did the first Elm Street, and I think that's where you want to go. I don't want to go younger, because then you're not much older than the kids you're haunting, right? So, like, if the kids are 17, 18, you don't want to cast somebody who's 24, because it just seems silly. You know, you want to have a bit of a parental sort of authoritative kind of vibe to the presence of Freddy. You don't want to give the impression that he's younger, per se. That's how I see it anyway. David says the scene where Freddy runs after her with the glove in the air is fantastic visual. It is. I love that shit. Steve Down Under says, yeah, Freddy has a great creepy walk. He does. He always got that one arm or that shoulder, he kind of down like this, whatever, like the glove's heavy or something like that. Really cool stuff. David says, Freddy in the mirror there with the laugh scared. Sorry, excuse me. With the laugh looked scary as hell to me as a kid and even now. Oh, yeah. The way he just said, that's it. That's all he does. He's great. Steve Down Under says, every time they nod off and wake up, you know they're in a dream. That if I was a betting man, I would bet that for sure. All right. Yeah, Patricia Arquette. So I'm at the scene now where she is in the room with the needle or the, I don't know what she's got in her hand there, and she's like 1, 2, 3, and then of course the introduction of Heather Langenkamp, who finishes it. Never sleep again. The one criticism I have with this is that I always found, although I guess it's possible. I mean, what? Elm Street 2 takes place in the timeline now. It takes place, what, 5 years after the first movie? So if Nancy, how old would Nancy have been? Tina was 15. She really wasn't 15, but her character was 15. So Nancy was what, 15, 16, 5 years later. So in Elm Street 2, had Nancy been there, she would have been, let's say, 20. And then Elm Street 3, in the chronological, like in the timeline, how long after the original is Elm Street 3? Another 5 years? Or is it just a couple years? Because I always found her very young to be a dream psychologist. You know, to have her PhD already and all that kind of stuff. She found her quite young. I mean, in real life, she's only about 24 here. Or 3, or whatever she is. So I think that's why it's kind of like, she looks kind of young to be a dream psychologist. But that's me. Yeah, here comes Nancy. The surprise entrance of Nancy, yeah. It's Heather Langenkamp and Bill Maher right here. Oh. She still looks cute, though. Yeah, she's definitely got that girl next door. You know, I actually think, as much as I love Jamie Lee Curtis, I actually think that Heather Langenkamp's Nancy might be the... It's tough to say. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis has bolder features. So when you look at the character of Laurie Strode and you look at the character of Heather Langenkamp, like you look at the actors, obviously Heather has cuter features. So she fits the stereotype of a girl next door more than Jamie Lee Curtis did as Laurie Strode. Jamie Lee Curtis was very attractive, but she just had bolder features. So she wasn't quite the girl next door look. I think Heather fits that final girl next door, vulnerable but still strong archetype, probably the best between the two, I would say. That's my opinion anyway. Ba, 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 ba. When Nancy drops her... Bill Maher. I love how you're just calling him Bill Maher. Bill Maher picks up. It says the prescription was filed in May 1989. Ah, okay, cool. So it is. Okay, so it's. Well, that doesn't make any sense then. Well, what? Okay, hang on now. Do we know when the first Elm Street was supposed to take place? It came out in 1984, but what was the year supposed to be? I know there are some people like, well, it's this year, but do we actually know? I mean, concrete from Wes Craven himself, from the producers themselves, do we actually know that although the movie was shot in 1984 and released in 1984, it actually takes place in 1980 or 79 or 81? Do we actually know? I mean, really know, not some forum on Reddit from somebody who thinks they know. Somebody actually knows. Because if the movie because it has to take place before 84 then, because 5 years after 84 is 1989. So part 2 is to take place in 89. Yeah, Dave, they never said that part 1, where they said part 1 was supposed to be. The cars are the... Oh, there's no doubt it's the 80s. 100%. It's the 80s. But at the same time, I think it's important to also keep in mind that Elm Street 3 does not acknowledge any of the canon or continuity or anything from Elm Street 2. So in some ways, it is kind of a reboot. I don't mean remake. I mean, it's like, let's pretend that 2 never happened. I really believe that because you can watch 1, leapfrog over 2, and watch 3 and not have missed a thing, even though I love part 2. So who's to say that the Elm Street movie, the first one, did take place in 84, and this is 5 years later in 89? But then if that's the case, Heather Langenkamp's Nancy would be like 20 years old. That's really young to be a dream psychologist. Great eyes, David, to pick that out. I mean, could you be a psychologist at 20? Like 25, sure, because what, you go to college, 18, 19? Yeah, okay. But 20? That seems kind of young. Great eye, David. So my assumption then would be that even though the sequel takes place 5 years after the first one, because this movie is 5 years after the first one in actual time, in the actual timeline, then I would say that 2 just ceases to exist. That's my thought. You are all my viewers now. Ha ha. Ha ha. I had some water in my throat there. Ha ha ha. That's better. Excuse me. David says, yeah, Nancy is far too young to be a psychologist in this movie. She is. And I've always thought that. Ever since I was like 10, I was like, you look a little young to be a doctor. Jim Dorsey is in the house. The last good Elm Street movie. Yeah, I like this movie. It's not one of my favorites, but it probably is my 3rd or 4th favorite. In order for me would be the original Elm Street. By the way, I'm at the scene now where Patricia Arquette is in bed. She looks like she's writing something down, and of course she's about to fall asleep here. Yeah. Oh, she's not writing. She's drawing. She's tracing. That's a great... And she did that. No, I doubt it. Yeah, in order for me would be the first one, followed by the second one, and either followed by this one or New Nightmare. Those kind of change for me. Oh, she's asleep. We know she's asleep. Steve Down Under says Nancy could be walking around with expired pills. She could be. If the movie takes place in 89, though, which I think that's what it's alluding to. Probably not. I love this shot of the tricycle wheeling in with blood on the wheels. I love that shot. And I love this shot here when the tricycle just kind of all crumples up. It's great. It's great. And then the door shuts and she's actually in the Elm Street house. I love that. That's so good. That's downright creepy and damn and very... The dream sequences in this movie, although they are a little more sensational, they are still as extreme as you would go in a nightmare. Here comes the animatronic puppet pig or whatever. Yeah, I said this at the beginning of the stream. It's just a nice balance for me. I keep saying that, but it's totally true. It's a nice balance. Aircar33 says, where's the fucking bourbon? Yeah, that's right. Where's the bourbon? Where's the bourbon? That's funny. Where's the bourbon? Like, it's genuinely... Yeah. It's creepy. I think this is where she gets the snake, right? The Snake Freddy. That's so great. Yeah, it's good shit. This whole sequence was really well shot. I keep having to say it. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is genuinely good shit. And as far as I would go, it's the extreme. I wouldn't go further. And unfortunately, they did, but I wouldn't. Like, this is as far as you want to go, because it's like, what the fuck? This is where Heather falls into the... I always liked this effect as a kid. When she goes, and she falls back into the chair, and she disappears into the chair. I always liked that. I always liked this. And she's gone. She's gone, baby. Aircar33 says, this movie was epic in 88. I believe it was 87. I think this movie is 1987, I believe. Steve Down Under says the special effects are so well done. They are, and they hold up pretty well. Do you want to know what I hate, though, about watching these movies? Oh, here it comes. You. He's like, I know you, you bitch. The one thing I hate, though, about purchasing these movies on Blu-ray, and I don't have them on 4K. I don't even know if they release them on 4K yet, but is because of the transfer, they strip a lot of the masking away of the special effects. Like there's scenes in here that you can see the wires. Like when the Wizard Master gets picked up, I think that's his name, right? When Freddy picks him up in the air and stabs him with his glove, and there's that long shot down the hall where he's got him in the air. You can see the wires holding him up. Now, you don't see the wires on the VHS, and I don't think you see the wires on DVD, but you definitely see the wires on Blu-ray. And there's a lot of movies, a lot of older films that are like that. And I never understood that if you're going to spend the money, and it costs a lot of money to do a Blu-ray transfer of a movie that was not shot in high definition. I don't understand. I need somebody to tell me why they don't spend the money to then go in and take out all those things again. I mean, I know it's going to cost more money, but it looks ridiculous. I can see the wires. It blows my mind. It frustrates me. And it takes me out of the movie. It happened in The Exorcist. It happens in this movie. What happens in a lot of old films that they transfer that have practical visual effects in terms of, levitating or shit like that. Let's see here. Aircar33 says, I didn't get to see it till 88 though. Oh, well, there you go. That makes sense. Jim Dorsey says, Dave, what would be your dream power? Ooh, good question. You know what? It's either invisibility or to fly. And my only knock against invisibility, by the way, I'm at the scene where they are all sitting around in that circle. And this, of course, is where they find out that they all have the same dream. That's where I am. I would love to have invisibility, but I don't know if I could take people talking about me behind my back. I mean, people you love, right? I mean, people I don't know, I don't give a fuck about. But like family members, where they don't know you're there, and then you hear them go, God, that Dave. You're like, oh, really? Oh, no. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, no. Oh, what are you doing? That would be hard. But then at the same time, it might be really cool to be a fly on the wall, right? That might be kind of cool too. But no, I think to fly would be my dream superpower, to fly. And I can fly out. I've had lucid dreams, as a lot of people have, where you're dreaming, and I've been in a nightmare, and I've been able to manifest like a machine gun, or just say, I don't want to be here anymore. And I'm not there anymore. It's really cool. It hasn't happened to me often, maybe, I don't know, a handful of times maybe in my life. But there have been times where I've been having a nightmare that I want to get out of. Like I'm being chased by a murderer, or something like that. Not like Freddy or anything, but just like oh my God, a monster or something. And I realize I'm dreaming, and I'm like, fuck, this is my dream. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And I get out of there. It's awesome when it happens. Aircar33 says, remember how cool Doken's video was back then? Oh, to actually see Freddy in the... Yeah. Dream Warriors. Oh, I better be quiet. I don't want to get a copyright strike. Can you imagine they dinged me for that? Go fuck yourselves. That's what I'd say. Joey, the mute. Apparently everybody was crushing on Patricia Arquette. I could see that. I prefer brunettes over blondes, but certainly, I mean, she's very attractive. I could see that. Yeah. Aircar 33. Oh, right. Okay. Yes, I already said that. There he is, Larry Fishburne. Or Bourne. Burn or Bourne? Burn. I think it's just Burn, right? Lawrence Fishburne. Little did he know he'd go on to be in The Matrix and another big iconic sci-fi movie. I wonder if this guy has some Asian in him. The actor that plays the kid in the wheelchair. He looks a bit mixed to me. Maybe not. Pretty cool though. Now Nancy and Bill Maher are having a conversation. Dominic Venturino says, do you think part 4 would have been better if Patricia had come back? Oh yeah, well, excuse me. I don't know if part 4 would have been better. But one of the things that I find frustrating, although I do understand it to a point, is that when it becomes... Yeah, it's you get emotionally attached to characters, especially a main protagonist. And when they keep switching that up, then you don't really care about the characters. It becomes the Freddy show. Is that I find that I care more about Freddy and seeing Freddy, and that's really what the movies became. Same with, Friday the 13th and Halloween as well. But I would have loved to have had somebody that one constant that you can root for, because of course we go from Heather and then we go to Jesse and then we go back to Heather but sort of off to Patricia Arquette, but then we go from her to Alice, right? But then Alice is gone, and then I don't know, it just seems kind of like it would have been cool in Friday the 13th if Ginny had been in part 3. And I believe she wanted too much money. I think there's a double story there. I think some people say she wanted too much money, and she says, no, that's not true. It was because of this, or something like that. I forget what it was. But yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, really, the only thing that was, although I don't agree with the brother-sister story arc in Halloween, they kept it in the family, so I guess it felt sort of like, you felt like, oh, well, it's part of the family, so I feel like I know them already, or I'm already attached to them more than I already really am because it's her daughter or something, so you kind of feel like it's connected somehow, I guess. I love this stop animation Freddy hanging on the wall. Are you guys at this point yet? Oh, I think David Ferguson is talking about it. I love this. And I love how he grows at the bottom of the bed here. Look at that side light on him. Yeah. Oh yeah. Ooh. That's so good. That's some serious. Yeah. This is probably, this and Welcome to Prime Time, Bitch is my favorite for sure. It's so well done and so ingenious and different and creepy and Jesus, like horrifying. And then of course when he gets to the top, Freddy's there and just takes him out. I love the little subtle details there of the drops of blood. And I love the contrast going back from our perspective to his perspective in the dream, you know, where we see him just going like this and there's nothing there, right? And then we go from his back to his perspective and you can actually see it, you know. I like that shit. I like that stuff. So Hellraiser. Yeah, a little bit in there. Yeah, that's true. Philip! Philip! Yeah. Joey! Yeah. He's running down the hall, banging on all the doors with the... This is great. This is great shit. David says that looks slightly painful. Slightly. Just slightly. Not bad. It's all right. Whatever. I love the shot here where you see Freddy's... Yeah. He's like, he's dangling him like a marionette. I love that. He just goes like this. Just great. It's so... It's sensational, but it's still... it's still very organic, I guess. It feels like it could be something somebody could dream, if that makes sense. And it's taking place within the real world. It's not happening in some lavish carnival set like what happens in 5 and New Nightmare. New Nightmare was a bit different, but not New Nightmare, Part 6. Like, it still takes place within sort of, like, he's walking down the halls of the hospital. So the environment is still the same. The environment is still grounded in reality. It's just him. He happens to be having a nightmare within that environment. So I like that a lot. So it looks like I'm looking for Tabitha. It doesn't look like Tabitha's in the room tonight. She was supposed to be having her baby today. So hopefully Tabitha had her baby today and everything is A-okay. Or maybe she is watching, but she can't type in the chat room because obviously maybe she's in the hospital or something to that degree. I don't know. But Tabitha, if you're watching, when you watch, if you watch after the fact, we're thinking of you and hopefully everything is going well. And that your baby boy, I think it's a boy, will be born healthy and happy. Oh. Kincaid. Fuck you! Yeah, fuck you, man! You're gonna fucking touch me! You're gonna fucking touch me, man! Yeah, fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! I love it. It's great. Yeah, like, I like that, you know, showing how incredibly scared he is to go to sleep. I like that. I like that concept even in any movie, any horror movie, just the concept of, you know, sleep is supposed to be this wonderful, nurturing, rejuvenating, re-energizing place, right? And when you have somebody or people that are too afraid to go to sleep because of their dreams or their nightmares, it's that old thing where it's like, how bad is it in there that the better option is to just drive yourself crazy being awake? Like, I love that. Fucking amazing. Steve Down Under says, let's sit around and talk about what we just saw. That's true. Yeah, so what did you think of Philip falling off the fucking thing? Pretty fucking scary, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. That's right. David says, this is such a great depth scene, so much tension and drama and a great visual. It's true. Yeah, it's this and the marionette death of Philip is actually, I think, a better all out sort of fleshed out scene. Death scene, I would say. I think Jennifer's Welcome to Prime Time bitch, which is coming up now, is maybe more fun. But I think when you want to include the stakes and the drama and the, oh my God, like imagine, kind of thing, I think it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely the Philip death. I always found this interesting because I know I'm thinking maybe too much into it here, but, Freddy makes them do things in their dream. That within the dream, it looks like Freddy is picking her up and smashing her head into the TV. And that is what's happening in the dream. But if I was sitting in the room when that was happening, I wouldn't see Freddy pick her up and smash her head into the dream. It would play out as if she smashed her own head into the TV. And I think anyway. Yeah, because Freddy, in order for him to manipulate the real world environment, he has to be brought into the real world. And he's not brought into the real world. He has been in certain films, but not here. So, I think, how would she have lifted herself up to do that? I'm thinking way too seriously about this. Steve Down Under says it would be good to know who actually thought of each death scene. Well, I mean, it probably comes down to Frank Darabont and, I see, who thought of which. Yeah, because it was Frank Darabont and Chuck, what was his name? Chuck Lawrence? God, I forget his name now. It was the two of them with, because they went into Wes Craven's script and polished it up, tweaked it, took some things out. So what was left from Craven's script, I can't remember. I don't think these scenes were, but these scenes might be variations of or something. I'm not entirely sure. I love how she just goes into the ashtray and gets a cigarette butt that may or may not be hers and lights it up. That's great. It's subtle, but it shows you how intense the addiction is and how much she needs that in order to keep herself awake. Because she burns herself with the cigarette for two reasons. One, to make sure that she is awake. And two, to keep herself awake because of the pain. Obviously, it doesn't work. Now, this guy here, I believe from the Never Sleep Again documentary, it was revealed that he hated Zsa Zsa Gabor. And he wanted to have Zsa Zsa Gabor in the scene. Because I think he was a real talk show host. Or a real, I forget his name now. But he wanted Freddy to kill Zsa Zsa Gabor. I love it. I love that. Who gives a fuck what you think? I love it. And now it's like, whoa, what's going on? Chuck Russell, thank you. The director of the movie and the co-writer. David Ferguson says, Tina's slaying in the first Elm Street is hard to beat any... Oh, Tina's death in the first Elm Street is one of, if not the greatest death scenes in the history of horror. I would put it above anything out of Halloween. I would put it above anything out of Friday the 13th. There it is. This is your big break, Jennifer. Ooh. Yeah, now Lawrence Fishburne comes in and sees her hanging out of the TV, which is a great shot. I love that. It's creepy. But how did she get herself up there? That's what I want to know, right? Because he can't manipulate the real world environment, only in the dreams. So anyway, I'm thinking too hard about it. But the actual line was not welcome to prime time, bitch. That was something that was improvised by Englund. And obviously it would have had to have been approved. But it was, I believe the original line was... this is your big break in TV. Fuck, what was it now? Damn, I forget what it was. You guys will probably let me know. There's Amanda Kruger, or supposedly. I never was a fan of revealing this backstory about Freddy. The son of 100 maniacs or whatever it was. I'm just kind of like... And it's not that I don't think a backstory for Freddy should not have been revealed. I'm okay with a backstory to Freddy because he's a different antagonist. He's a completely different character than Michael. But I think just knowing that he was a child murderer or a child molester or whatever is enough. I mean, he's a sick fuck. And he came from he's just a sick, and maybe you could find out that his mom or dad were a little strange too, or something like that. But to almost give the excuse that he was the byproduct of, 100 maniacs, or Amanda was raped and who knows which one of us, it almost on some level, not totally, because there's no excuse for what he's done and what he's doing. But on some level, it almost gives you a reason to feel sympathetic for Freddy because, it's not his fault. He's the son of 100 maniacs. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. He's the bastard child of 100 maniacs. It's like, no, it is his fault. And of course it's his fault, right? It doesn't matter where you come from, how shitty your childhood was, and there's a lot of shitty fucking childhood. There's a lot of children out there I sympathize for. My heart, it breaks but when they are 35 years old, whatever happened to them when they were 5 is not an excuse to go on a murder spree. Sorry, it ain't. And so it almost feels like it would have been better if he was just a fucked up kid. He came from a bad home, and he had parents that neglected him, that he got teased, and it was built in him like a Jeffrey Dahmer or, something like that, right? And although, I don't know, his Dahmer's dad, although he apparently came from a good home, his dad was a little strange. I think that I would have bought into a bit more. So it's not that I didn't want to know a bit more about Freddy or that we shouldn't have known a bit more about him. I think that's okay. But it's just like, really? So he's the bastard child of some nun who was raped by 100 guys. Like, it's like, I don't know. It just seems a little, for me anyway. But I tend not to but funny enough, when I watch Elm Street and when I think of Freddy, I don't generally think of that part of his backstory anyway. Even though it's canon, I don't tend to think of it. I don't think the 100 son or the bastard son of 100 maniacs or whatever, I don't think that really caught on. I mean, it is canon and it's known and you certainly could use it, but it never really caught on. It never seeped into the pop culture consciousness like Laurie as Michael's sister did, right? Aircar33 says, agreed, hated the Amanda backstory. Yeah, I'm okay with maybe Amanda Kruger was his mother, and maybe ironically Amanda was a nun. That's ironic, right? Because it's the complete opposite of what you would expect with how Freddy behaved. Okay, but to be raped by 100 guys, it just seems kind of like, I don't know. I'm just not crazy on it. Steve Down Under says, I enjoyed the backstory to Bates and Bates Motel. It needs to be done right and done well to be a good watch. I have not seen Bates and Bates Motel. I'm always when it comes to revealing more about your antagonist, I'm always cautious. I always approach it with trepidation because in my experience, usually when you start to reveal things about your main antagonist or the cat is out of the bag, you fill in details that don't need filling in. It can be a tricky slope. Sometimes it's like, oh, that's interesting. And sometimes it kind of ruins the mystique. It demystifies, your antagonist. Now, because we already know from the very first movie that Freddy was a child murderer and that the parents, that he came back for his revenge to hunt and kill the children of the parents that murdered him and blah, blah, blah. We already know a bit about his backstory. So to know a little bit more, I was like, oh, okay. But, I don't know. Always tricky for me. Always tricky. Less is better. And some, yeah, in most cases it is. When you have a antagonist who acts as more of an enigma, and there's more mystique around him, like a Michael, it's better. Somebody like Hannibal Lecter, Freddy Krueger, Anthony Perkins, who played what's his face there in Psycho. You might have a little more wiggle room, because yeah. Let's see here. I already read that. Okay, I think I'm on fire. All right, so I'm at the scene now where they're all sitting with Bill Maher and watching the bloop, 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 bloop go back and forth. I forget the name of that thing now. And they are looking to go into their dreams. And Bill Maher joins them. I love how, I guess it didn't work. Everybody take 5, right? But they're actually asleep. I like that. I forget how it's revealed that they're asleep. I like that, though. Oh, right. He goes out and sees the nurse, the naked nurse. And the nurse is like, come here. Oh, no, she didn't do that. I thought she did. Oh, maybe she does it by the door. She does it, right? I thought she did. I think she does it. Now this... Oh, okay, yeah, she just kind of goes like this. Now, this is cool. Did you guys know that they actually had shot a scene with... I don't know if it's the actress. It may have been her. But they actually shot a scene where she's naked, as she does become. But she has a Freddy face on. And so Freddy reveals himself to be... the nurse, right? And they actually shot that, but the production agreed, the director and, they all agreed that, that's right. That's how the things float in the air. They all agreed that it just felt a little strange to see Freddy with tits. I mean, it just felt a little weird to see Freddy with boobs. And, maybe it would have flown today because it's so eccentric and weird and like, whoa, and he's like, maybe. But for whatever reason in 1987, they decided against it. But I believe there's some behind the scenes footage or photos of whether it's the actual nurse or some other actress, I'm not sure, but she's in the makeup and you can see her boobs and everything. And it was pretty interesting. Steve Down Under says, has anyone ever been hypnotized? No, I have not. Imagine if that was really her. I don't think it was. Patricia Arquette doing the backflips. Eric Carr 33 says, to this day, I want to know who thought that dog pissing fire would be the best way to bring Freddy back to life. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure. It was always strange to me. I mean, I understand why they did it, because that sequence, the stop animation with the skeleton was, it's based on another movie that both Chuck Russell and Frank Darabont quite liked. I forget the name of the movie now. It's an older film, I think from the 50s or 60s. And where there was a stop motion, stop motion animated skeleton sword fighting as well. So that's where it comes from. And these boobs are fake, I think, anyway. They look a bit fake to me. I don't know, guys in the chat room, do they look kind of fake to you? They look a little fake to me. Maybe not. He probably was, that kid's probably going, yeah, all right, I'll do that. He's doing it. I like this though, where it's like, oh, you think, oh no, she's got his tongue. It's so funny. It's so good. So good. So simple, but so good. Clash of the Titans inspired the skeleton. Thank you, Jim Dorsey. Yes, because there was, yes, okay. Yeah. So it was it was definitely something they wanted to do. In terms of it was inspired by something else. There's Freddy. He looks all right in this movie. He still looks pretty scary. Not as scary as he does in the first one or the second one. But that was a nice shot of him there when he looks all right. Totally blue screen there, but whatever. It's 1987. What do you expect, right? I think of Temple of Doom when I see him hanging there like this with the fire underneath. I want to go, Mother-um, 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 Suther-um, bum, bum, Mother-um, Mother-um. Yeah, it's good shit. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Temple of Doom fire death. That's right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. The Temple of Doom. 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 You're all doomed. Good old Ralph. You're doomed. You're all doomed. That's a cool shot of the door handle getting really, really, really hot, and the metal in the door just melting. I like that. There's a lot of great effects in this movie. There is no doubt about it. But they're effects that are in the real world. Like, you're not going to another world. I mean, you're going to the dream world, but they're happening within your environment, and then the environment can change, and you end up, like you're still, it just feels more grounded than the later sequels did, especially 5. 5's like a fucking carnival. Oh my God. I love that when you're looking at the door and you think something's going to happen and the door opens and it's the older nurse. I love that. Excuse me. Boy, I've been drinking too much water. Yeah, and now she's like, I cannot approve this type of method. That doctor right there going, it's inexcusable. The guy in the suit, he was on an episode of Three's Company. How do I know that? I'm a big Three's Company fan. For those of you across the pond that don't know what that is, that's an American sitcom from the late 70s, early 80s. Aircar33 says something about part 5's, Dave. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's something, really, by the time you get to part 5's in any franchise, it's like, really? Really? And you know what's crazy? In an episode of Three's Company, he played a doctor as well. It's like how, what's his face from I forget his real name now. The dad from Family Matters, right? He played a cop in Family Matters. He was a cop in Die Hard. He was a cop in, was he in Die Hard? I thought he was in one more Die Hard. Die Hard 2, maybe. Yeah, I think it was Die Hard 2. A cop in Die Hard 1 and 2. And he also played a cop in Ghostbusters in 1984. He had a brief cameo in Ghostbusters, and he was a cop there too. Just some people just like, you know what? You look like a cop. You look like a cop. You're going to forever be playing a cop. Maybe that guy there was like, you know what? You look like a doctor. You were a doctor on Three's Company. We need a doctor. You're going to be a doctor. Aircar33 says, I own all the seasons of Three's Company on DVD, as do I. That's awesome. Such a stupid, silly show. Such a guilty pleasure. I love it. David Ferguson says, I'm glad they never made a Jaws 5. Oh. Yeah. I agree with you. I'm at the scene now here where the Bill Maher guy is trying to break into the, I guess into the church. Is it the church tower? Or what is he, or is this part of the hospital? I forget what this is now. Anyways, that's where I am. He's heading up there. He's looking for Amanda Kruger. Amanda Kruger. Yeah, I can definitely see how this movie, especially for a teenage audience, would be a lot more, because that's the demographic that they're targeting, right? Teenagers, young adults. In 1987, this definitely would have been a much more fun movie to watch. It would be like, it is a little, although I will say that I don't particularly find Freddy scary. There's certain shots of Freddy that I think are scary. And there's certain things like when, Philip dies, and his death that are scary to think about. And that's probably the most frightening death in the movie, to be honest with you, because of how long it drags out and what it represents. I mean, he is scary in this movie, but he's not part 1 and 2 scary. But if they were going to remake A Nightmare on Elm Street, and they were like, no, we're not going back to how he was just full on dead serious, from part 1 and 2, I would say, well, then don't go part 6, 5, or 4. Go here. Make him this kind of Freddy, because you'll please fans like me, even though I want him more the other way. And you'll please fans who want him more comedic, but you'll please those fans as well, because, like I've been saying the whole fucking stream, balance, right? You're in the middle. There's some scary shots of him though in this movie. Steve Down Under says, I just want a good old style horror flick. I'm sick of bad remakes and stupid sequels. Yeah. The only way to stop the sequels will never stop, because sequels are based on the box office results of the first movie. So when a first installment does well, they will make a sequel. But if you don't want a sequel to that first installment, famous last words, right? But if you actually don't, then you do not go see the sequel, because that's how you get them, is you get them at the box office. If you continue to go see the sequels, even though you don't, then, and obviously it's like, gas prices, right? In order for gas to come down, everybody's got to not buy gas, and that's not going to happen because we all need gas, right? They got you by the balls. But that's really how you do it. It's the reason why to this day I do not own a copy of The Last Jedi. Now, is me not buying a copy of TLJ going to do anything? No, it's not. You would need millions and millions of people not to buy it. But there are people out there that loathe TLJ, but buy it anyway. Well, but I'm a completist. I need to buy it. And I'm like, yeah, but hey, I am too, to a degree. But if you hate something as much as you say you do, then don't buy it. Why are you buying it? Well, I have it. It's like, I don't have TLJ to this day, and I won't buy it. Come and get 'em, bitch. That's cool. That's a long. We held on that for a while. That was a long shot on that. Yeah. Jim Dorsey says this was the beginning of MTV pop icon Freddy. Sort of, Jim. Yeah, it definitely was. It kind of was. Definitely, I think MTV Freddy was fully realized in A Nightmare on Elm Street for the Dream Master. That's when it's like the cat's out of the bag. He's on a beach with shades, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here, right? His glove is going through the water like a shark's fin. I mean, it's insane. He's crushing chicks that are like cockroaches and little cockroaches. I mean, it really was. And there was a lot of rock music in there. And yeah, it was. It is but Elm Street 3, there's still remnants of Scary Freddy there. He's not full-blown. It's not a full-blown almost satire, almost like a spoof almost in some ways. But you're right. Because of this movie, and because this movie was so successful, critically and at the box office, they felt that, okay, now we can, let's take it even further now, right? They had to take this and make it even bigger, and it's like, there's a ceiling to that shit. There's a ceiling to when it's like, okay, now you've jumped the shark. You've nuked the fridge, right? You've gone too far now. Dreams have to feel plausible. They have to feel like I'm actually having this dream. It's why I'll always like the original the best, because it feels real. It's Freddy is the scary thing in our world, right? We don't go to his world. He comes to our world. He's the uncomfortable, the uneasiness in our world. And that's what I like about that, or our world, right? The dream world. But you're right in the sense that if it wasn't for this movie and the risks that they took and basically turned to the audience and said, okay, you didn't like how we kept it really dark in 2. And to be fair, it was a weird sequel in terms of story as well. But because you didn't like that, okay, what about this kind of Freddy? And I mean, the director even said that they went a little more funhousey. And they absolutely did. But it was still sort of, tempered a bit. When you get to 4, and it's inevitable. It's like, oh yeah. So I'm at the scene now where Nancy is talking to John Saxon, Black Christmas alum. He played a cop in that movie too. He's always playing cops. He looks like a cop. Come on, Dad. You know where he's buried. You know where he's buried, Dad. Nancy. He's a drunk. He's a drunk now. That guy's a fucking drunk. Pager. You guys remember pagers? I never had a pager, but my buddy Brian had a pager in the late 90s. Beep, beep, beep. I thought about getting a pager too. But I didn't, obviously, because I was probably, 19, 20. Help is on the way. It ain't on the way. Help is on the way. I'm just standing beside this 20-year-old attractive doctor. David Ferguson says, love John Saxon's character in Enter the Dragon. Oh, was he in Enter the Dragon? I don't remember. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen that movie in a long time. But I think you're right. I have to watch. That's such a good movie. I got to watch that movie again. I love this. He sheds the table over, puts him up. I don't know if you care whether Nancy lives or dies, but I do, because she's hot, and I want to get with her, man. It's basically what you could look at that scene as. I mean, come on. Let's be honest. That's basically what that's all about. Jim Dorsey says, I saw Dream Warriors on 35mm film a few months ago at the Colonial Theater in Pennsylvania, where the famous 1950s blob scene was filmed. Pretty cool. That is awesome. That is awesome, Jim. I love that shit. I love stories like that. That's so awesome. Nancy's speeding down the road now, looking at her watch, trying to get back because she's all alone in there in a padded room by herself. I forget what he's here at the church for. Why is he at the church again? Oh, he's got to get holy water. That's right. I'm not a religious person, okay? So it wasn't until very recently, like within the last 10 years, that I was informed by somebody a lot smarter than me that holy water is just water that's been blessed. And I, for whatever reason, growing up as a kid, I didn't grow up Catholic or anything like that. But I did grow up at a time when we still said the Lord's Prayer in school, in public schools. back in the 80s. But anyway, oh, there's the priest. But I always, for whatever reason, thought that holy water came from some like spring in some ancient, it's like this special place. I didn't realize that I could take the water out of my toilet and get a priest to do whatever he does over it, and it becomes holy water. I didn't know that. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody in the chat or who is watching afterwards, but and again, that's not to say that maybe there isn't certain instances where holy water does come from somewhere, but essentially it is water that's been blessed, and I didn't know that, and I was like, oh, well, all right. Lawrence Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne. So young here. Jim Dorsey says, don't tell me how to raise my daughter. Dollar store Bill Maher. That's right. Dollar store Bill Maher. He is Bill Maher. He's like, you listen here. You may not care what happens to Nancy, but I do. I care if she lives or dies because I'm going to get with her, man. I'm going to bang her so fucking hard. He said, can you imagine he says that? Cut. What are you doing, Bill? My name's not Bill, but you look like this guy who's going to, rise to prominence in the 90s named Bill Maher. I'm just saying. I don't think Bill Maher was a thing or was really anybody in 1987. Was he? I don't think he was. So I'm at the scene now where they are Bill Maher. I love calling this guy Bill Maher. And John Saxon are coming to the car, the junkyard, essentially, the car junkyard, to dig up Freddy's body where they buried him. I remember as a kid not really being big on this either. Not the scene, just, I guess, no, well, now I guess I'm kind of okay with it, I guess. I don't know. I would rather, if there was anything about Freddy that I would take out of the movie in terms of his backstory and leave in terms of his movie, I would take out the whole bastard son of 100 maniacs or whatever it is and all that, and I would leave this there. Like knowing, oh, so this is where they actually buried him. Wow, cool, okay. Because it doesn't really demystify him per se, or why he does what he does, or what made him a child murderer, or why it doesn't. It's just like, oh, it's a little bit of more, it's another window into his backstory. Not into the backstory, but into not into his backstory per se, but into the backstory of the parents and what they did with him and things like that. And I'm cool with that. Like that's kind of cool. Okay, so he was buried in this car junkyard. That's kind of cool. Okay. All right. But it doesn't demystify Freddy, although there is more leeway to demystify him than somebody like Michael, as I've said earlier in the stream. But if I was going to keep something and remove something, that's what I would do. Because I don't want to feel sympathy for Freddy. Not that I do at all. I'm just saying that so that's why he's the way he is. Then it's not his fault. It's not his fault. He's a son of 100,000. He's a son of he's a bastard child. It's not his fault. Nah, get that out of there. Get that out of there. That's how I feel anyway. But it doesn't bother me. I mean, no. Steve Down Under says the burial of Freddy's bones story is really cool. Oh, it is. Yeah, it totally is. And that's what I'd keep that. That's fine. That's fine. It's a bit of a window into his backstory a little bit, right? What happened to him after they killed him. But I don't need to see them killing him. I don't need to see Fred Krueger on fire and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like what they did. I understand we saw that at the beginning of the 2010 remake. And it didn't really bother me there. I guess because it was starting with that, maybe? So maybe because it's starting with that, it feels more organic and like it's part of the bigger picture. To the third movie in, go back to it feels like, oh, I don't need to see that. You've already set this mysterious-ish character up. I don't want to see that. I don't know. It's a bit different. I love this, though. Yeah. How can you have a padded room and not take advantage of Freddy slicing his way through the padded room and feathers falling all around you? I mean, how can you not do that? You have to take advantage of that. I think this is the scene. Isn't this the scene? Where's the bourbon? Isn't this it? I think this is it. I think this is it. Patricia Arquette. She's, how old is she now? 50? She's got to be in her 50s now. Yeah, this is, where's the bourbon? Steve Down Under says, fire always means you expect a charred version of the character, and that's never good, except for Chucky. Yeah, that's true. Well, that's because there can be multiple versions of Chucky. There it is. Ryan! What's her name? Elaine, I think? Where's the bourbon? I said, where's the bourbon? Or something like that, right? Isn't it that? I said... Yeah. I said, where's the fucking bourbon? I just spat like crazy. Something like that. He's got the head. That's so great. That's creepy. But notice how it's happening within a real world environment. You know? She's doing not real world things. And then, of course, she goes through the window and she's back in the alternate reality Elm Street house, obviously, which is fine. Like, I'm okay with the Elm Street house being as funhousey as it gets. So when you go into the Elm Street house, all of a sudden it's bigger than it actually really is, or, you know, it's creepy and things like that. Like, that's okay. But of course, you can only do that for so many movies until you have to expand it. I mean, listen. The reality is, the more sequels you make, you have to expand and open things up, which is why, you know, really at the end of the day, the first few films in a series are usually traditionally the best anyway, you know? So I'm really just sort of, you know, at the end of the day, there's not much you can do, you know? Jake's Bar. I love it, yeah. Darren and Freddy, I like that. This is a good fucking scene. Are you talking about the scene with Mohawk chick here? I forget her name. Doesn't the bum have... Yeah, this... I'll say this. I'm not crazy on this scene. I just don't like how clearly we're seeing Freddy, I guess, and how he feels vulnerable. Like, that's a cool shot when he goes like this and he's got all the needles and he's like, let's get high. That's cool. That's cool. And of course, the shot of all... Yeah, that's just creepy. That's just gross. You notice how some of the needles didn't go in when he did that? His makeup looks pretty good here, though. I'll take this over the fucking Freddy's Dead makeup. Not quite as scary as Elm Street 2 or 1, but still pretty good. Yeah, I just didn't like when he went... Like he was like a, I guess, I get it. I get it. I understand the, I get it. Like I do. Just looking something up. Yeah, okay. Yep, I get it. Oh, where did the movie go? Now that's a great shot of Freddy Krueger. With him at the end of the hallway there with the light. That's scary. That's a genuinely frightening shot. Even this shot right here of him, with the hats up like this a little bit, he looks frightening there. Doesn't he? Doesn't he look really scary there? That's a great shot. Of course, they're utilizing the environment where it's a dark hallway and shit like that. And this shot here of him going, I love it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a good shot. Yeah. He looks really scary. And I love how I'm the Wizard Master and he does that. It's fucking Emperor Palpatine shit. And Freddy's kind of like, what? Yeah. And unfortunately, you can see the wires there. Did you guys notice the wires? The special effects don't exactly stand the test of time. Did you see the wires, though? When he picked him up, did you see the wires? Mask that shit out. You have the technology to do it today. Mask it out. Great scene. That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. That's a great, or like a great death scene. The death's a little weak in terms of he just picks him up and he goes like this. I would have wanted something maybe a little more, I mean, you know, if the rest of the movie's quite lavish, maybe he should go out on more of a lavish note, right? More of a sensational note. Not too sensational, but in line with what we've been seeing. He just gets stabbed, you know. I mean, what's her face got stabbed too, but at least she got, you know, she went out, you know, getting high, right? You know, and it was kind of a cool thing. The Wizard Master kid just gets stabbed. It's just like, nah, he should go out, maybe, I don't know, Freddy, I don't know, something a bit more oomph to it, per se. Steve Down Under says, who wants to bump into that in an alley? That's true. Not me. Not me, folks. He should be vaporized. Yeah, something like that. Like something that's in line with being a wizard. You know, like something, obviously in the real world, he's asleep and he would just die and collapse to the ground. But something where he's, something where he's, you know, like you said, like Freddy almost uses his power against him. He's just too powerful. Freddy's just too powerful. He's too smart. And maybe Freddy, instead of just picking him up and going like this, maybe Freddy, I don't know, something a bit different than that. Something a bit different. So I'm at the scene now where Bill Maher and John Saxon are about to dig up old Freddy Krueger. The buried Freddy Krueger, that is. Wait a minute. I got these back to front now. I got so many windows up here. There we go. Or they're going to bury his bones, I mean. Because his bones aren't buried. They have to find them. Throw him into a fly zapper. Oh, that's not a bad idea. I like that. Steve Down Under is thinking. I like that. Yeah, like something like that, right? That's just a bit more, you know, in line with a wizard character, right? Something like that. But the like everything that led up to that was really cool. And Freddy looks probably, if not the best, some of the, in terms of his look and how mean he looks and scary he looks, that scene with that kid, he looks great in that scene. Jim Dorsey says, great value brand Bill Maher. Great value brand Bill Maher is amazing. He's amazing. I'm surprised he's not up there with Tom Hanks. David says it's back in the saddle for you. Yeah, it's a bit further up. I missed that, David. Sorry. I don't know why I missed that. That's funny. Here's Heather Langenkamp and Patricia Arquette, and I don't know this guy's real name. His character name's Kincaid, I guess. And that's what was so crappy about Part 4, is that Part 4 begins with Joey and Kincaid, and then they die in the first, 15 minutes of the movie. And now you're asking me to glom onto this new protagonist named Alice. It's kind of like, but I don't give a fuck about Alice. Oh, sure, she's cute, but I don't care about her, And then, of course, by the time Part 5 rolls around, I think at the end of Part 5, I think even she's gone too, or something like that. Anyway. There's Mr. Robert Englund. Yeah. Let him go, Kruger! Your wish is my command. He was all like, Funhouse. Your wish is my command. No, Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom again. Mother-um, Sudarum. I like how Freddy jumps back up onto his feet. That's great. That's fun. I thought that was Freddy for a minute, grabbing Heather Langenkamp's pants. It's Kincaid. That's hilarious. David says, let him go. Your wish is... Yeah, exactly. Floating John Saxon is coming up. He is in a minute. Freddy's also got Kincaid by the throat. Right through his gut. Nancy stabs Freddy right through the gut. I love that. I love how he's just like basically saying, you don't got me. And he licks it, right? Yes, I love that. Yeah, I love that he licks it. The souls. They're all the souls. It's a really cool effect. Really cool effect. But I would have been okay if they didn't do that. But it's a fucking cool effect. From an effect standpoint alone, it's really cool. David says, you can tell Robert was in good shape physically in this film. Yeah, well, he was a slim dude. I mean, he was a slim guy anyway. He was in good shape for all the movies, really. But I know what you're saying. Steve Down Under says, I remember not liking the tongues and fleshy body parts when I was a kid, but I'm really digging them now in a cult movie way. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know that the little squishy mouths on what's-her-face's arm, I always thought was gross. It's like anything that's cloisters or clusters of, it's just gross. It's like I'm looking at bacteria or something. It's just gross to me. Even that word, cluster. Oh, it's gross. It's like the word ointment. So, value brand Bill Maher and John Saxon, we're back to them now. And all the cars are going crazy. All the automobiles, they're all falling over. This was a cool set. And I love that they built that miniature. Do you remember that? The miniature they built with all the cars and everything? I think that's for Part 4, though. I think that's Part 4. But they did that. That was really cool. Freddy Krueger comes to life here. His bones. It's his bones. I killed you once before, you son of a bitch! He lifts John Saxon up by the balls. Oh no! But I never understood, yeah, like, wouldn't they have to be dreaming? I never understood, yeah, like, how, unless I'm missing something. It's been a while since I've seen this. How did dogs piss? Like, what's his face said earlier? How did dogs piss make this skeleton come to life? Wouldn't the two of them have had to have fallen asleep? And then the bones just fall down. I'm confused. I love how before the bones fall away, he's like, as if he's going, woo! Woo! I won, bitches! And then the bones crash to the ground. Did you see that? That's kind of funny. David Ferguson says, this bit reminds me of the end of Jason the Argonauts. Yeah, that's another movie where it kind of had like, yes, yep. David says, the skeleton pick John Saxon up by the ball. He did, yeah, exactly. Freddy coming out of the different mirrors. They're not really mirrors. Look at that effect they added in afterwards. That's so great, so charming. Joey's just like, what the fuck? And then he screams. He realizes his superpower is his voice. That's what Joey's superpower is. His voice, ladies and germs. Wow, I can talk. Did I say that? Somebody should be like, no, you didn't say that. I think it's kind of funny, though, that his dream power is his voice. Like, what? Like, how often are you going to be in a position where you're going to go, no! Like, what is that going to do? Okay, it worked there to smash all of the mirrors to save his friends. But, like, that's a pretty fucking There's floating John Saxon. Now, that's not... Hey, I will take that. As funny as that looked. I will take that over floating Princess Leia. And this is a dream, so it's justified, right? The spirit of her father is coming to Nancy in the dream, saying, goodbye, baby. I'm going. I love you, baby. Daddy's going. Yeah, Joey's superpower is his voice. That's really lame. That's really lame. But it's not. It's Freddy. He lied. So Freddy can now manifest himself as somebody else entirely. Well, I guess he's always been able to do that. That was great. I forgot about that. Oh, she's helping. She's still alive. Nancy is taking Freddy Krueger. I just didn't like the whole stabbing thing. There should be more to it than that. I like the idea of Freddy killing Nancy. I like the idea of Nancy killing Freddy, and because it's always been about them, right? It's Nancy, Freddy, Laurie, Michael, you know? That's what it is. Rocky and Adrian, right? Like, I like this. But you know what's crazy? Really, who saved them is fucking value brand Bill Maher. Value, if it wasn't, think about this. If it wasn't for value brand Bill Maher, it's fucking value brand Bill Maher. I mean, sure, Nancy distracted Freddy for a moment. She distracted him. But value brand Bill Maher was still going to wake up and toss the holy water and, you know, the crucifix thing onto the bones. He was still going to do that, whether Nancy had regained consciousness for a moment or not. So maybe Freddy would have got the upper hand, but it was very shortly after Nancy grabbed onto Freddy that value brand Bill Maher was able to actually come to save the day. So can you believe it, folks? As much as Nancy played a role, it was value brand Bill Maher that hit the home run. Nancy got on second base. Okay, sure. But it was value brand Bill Maher that drove her in. It's all value brand Bill Maher. This guy should be a fucking hero. Why isn't he a hero? Jesus, I should talk about this on a video. I mean, think about it. Yeah, sure, Nancy's got Freddy to stab himself. But it's this guy that saved the day. And then the big reveal, Amanda Kruger. Jim Dorsey says, John Saxon and Nancy die, but buy one, get one free. Bill Maher lives. Yes, and Bill Maher's the hero. The hell's going on with that? Did the kids know that Freddy was being killed by the doctor? Did they think they killed him? I don't know. It's a good question. Here comes the end of the movie, though. I love this ending. Just a light turning on. This is a great ending. I love that. I love, of course, the song, Dream Warriors. I don't know. That's a good question. But if you really think about it, he saved the day. He killed Freddy, not Nancy. Nancy didn't kill Freddy. Not from my estimation. I haven't watched this movie in a few years. Yeah, she didn't. I mean, she helped. She helped. She sacrificed herself to potentially save the lives of the people that were there. But Nancy didn't kill Freddy. It was fucking Bill Maher. And that's all she wrote. Here's the, well, I can't turn it up, but. Dream Warriors. Love it. That's great. Oh boy, what do we got? Steve Down Under says, I don't know. It's a good question. Jim Dorsey, yes, read that one. Steve Down Under said, Scream Queen's demise is inevitable. Look out, Lori. Oh yeah, it is. It is, really, I think at the end of the day. David Ferguson says, great 80s rock soundtrack. I could not agree more. It is good. Steve Down Under says, one of the coolest Freddy movies. Thanks, Dave. I watched 1 and 2 yesterday. Cheers for the awesome time. Hey, no problem. I love doing these things. They're always fun. And, it's fun to be able to talk about the movies with you guys and, share, some little things about them and just watch them together and just shoot the shit like we're all in the same room having a beer, eating pizza, watching fucking Dream Warriors. You know what I'm saying? It's a cyber virtual version of that. So, it was cool. But I just might have to do a video talking about how value brand Bill Maher saved the day. Holy shit. I wonder if anybody's ever noticed that. Anyways. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you for joining me here on this Saturday, August the 31st, 2019 for Saturday movie night. To my patrons in the chat room, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate the support each and every month that keeps these things going. You guys rock. You guys are amazing. It's Labor Day weekend here in North America. I think do you guys in the UK celebrate Labor Day weekend? Maybe you do. I'm not sure. Anyway, here in Canada, in the States, it's a long weekend this weekend. So, I will release the schedule for September, probably Monday or Tuesday, maybe Tuesday, somewhere around there, of what we'll be doing in September, when, and things like that. But this was fun. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. For those of you that are tuning in after the fact and watching the live feed, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great Labor Day weekend as well, or whenever you're watching this live feed. Maybe it's the year 2028 and you're watching this live feed. Probably not, but you never know. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Let me take off this Freddy Krueger glove now that I've had on since the beginning of the of the broadcast. All right, that's going to do it for me, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend.